Hello there and welcome. My name is Linda and this is my channel Linda T70. It's good to have your company today. Thank you so much for your response to the peacocks video that I did last week. It's gone down very well and I've had lots and lots of comments and I've had some new subscribers. You really seem to like that, so I'm really pleased about it. Yeah, and on the topic of subscribers, I'm almost at my 1,000, so thank you so much to people who have subscribed to me, and if anybody else would like to, you're very welcome. I'm just literally a few subscribers away from my target of 1,000, so thank you so much. Thank you for all the support you've given me in just verbal, when you're sending me comments, and by subscribing as well. It does make a difference. It makes you feel warm inside. And if you're new today, I hope you stick with my channel and watch some more. That I do all sorts of things, sort of lifestyle and hauls and whatnot, and I like to have a little bit of a chat. I'm never quite sure whether my channel name is good for searches, because it's got 70 in the name of the channel, because I am 70, and I was kind of aiming for people like me when I started the channel, my age group. But I don't know if it puts some people off, but maybe you'd let me know about that, see what you think. But anywho, I've been to the dentist today, so I've finally had my crown fitted. Nurse Ratchet is now on the reception, you'll all be glad to know. So if anyone goes to the same dental surgery as me, you won't have a poking about with a hoover thing in your mouth. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So today's video is the Q&A. I've tried to do this video 3 times. This is the 4th time, because I can't. The first question is about my jobs in the past, what I did in the past, and I kept getting it all wrong and mixed up, so I've kind of written a rough. I haven't listed every job I've done. I mean, that'd take forever, but so anyway, the first question comes from Alison, and she wants to know, as I say, what did you do job-wise in the past? So I left school at 16, went to college for a year, just because I didn't know what I wanted to do. My parents didn't really help me with that. They just said, do what your sister did, or what she does at the time. And that was a shorthand typist, which is great. I sort of wish I had done that in a way, but I didn't. I wasn't really interested in that. So the first few jobs I had when I was really young, and of course in those days you could get jobs really easily. You didn't have to, as long as you could speak and write, they were, you were in. And and you'd had a wash as well. That would help. So first of all I went into some little office jobs, and if you didn't like them in those days, you could just sort of leave and you'd find a job the next week. It was so different to how it is now. So I did some office work for a while, then I went into some shop work. That's where I met my husband when I was working he was a Saturday boy in a department store we worked in. I was 18, and my first husband, that is, did I say first? He was 17 and still at school doing 6th form stuff. My God, we were babies, weren't we? And yeah, I was mature. I was already 17. I was just coming up to 18. So we got married, and then we moved somewhere a bit further away. So I went into office work, which I did, and I had a couple of really nice jobs. And then I worked for Avis Rent a Car. I worked for Express Dairy. No, I wasn't a milkman. And who was the other one? Anyway, doesn't matter, does it? So I did that. And then I had my first baby. That was in 1980. And what we decided to do, my previous husband and myself, was that because he had a good job and he earned pretty good money, which was fortunate, I stayed at home to look after the children, because he also did shift work, so it was not easy to. I know having children and working isn't easy for anybody, and it's even worse now because it's the expense. I didn't have anyone to look after my children. my relative, my in-laws and that, they were, and my parents weren't able to do it. They lived too far away. So anyway, I stayed at home, which wasn't uncommon for women like me. And then I had my son was born in 1984, so there was 4.5 years between them. So I stayed at home with until he went to school. So I think it was about 1990 when I decided I wanted to work again, and I did some shop work. And a few years later, I got divorced from my first husband, so I had to find a full-time job, and I worked in an estate agency. And I know what you're thinking, but I stuck it for 2 years anyway. And then I found a job in a big office in our town as a receptionist, which I absolutely loved. I know people don't ever think I am, but I'm really quite shy and I'm very self-conscious. And being on a reception desk when you have to remember everyone's names and put calls through and everything, if you can imagine, was quite daunting. But I had a good pal working with me, and I really enjoyed that. And then they decided to get rid of the receptionists. There were 2 of us, and have just one. And I needed, so it would have. I can't really remember the ins and outs of it, but they tried to find me another job within the building because I couldn't stick at that one because of the hours. That was it. That we were 2 full-timers, and then they wanted 2 part-timers, and I needed a full-time salary because I lived on my own then with my son. My daughter had already left home anyway, and but luckily, eventually they found me a job. So my last job, which is probably the most relevant, was I worked as a buying assistant. So the head office was for a electrical retailer, and I worked in the buying section. I worked for a buyer, so I was a buying assistant, and I know I've used the word buying quite a lot there. And it was my job to do a lot of systems work, set up new products on the system, do price checking. There was quite a lot of stuff involved with it, and I enjoyed that, and I learnt such a lot. I mean, before I went to work in that office, I'd never sent an email. I didn't know anything about using Word or, Microsoft packages or anything. Still not a genius, but, it was absolutely brilliant. And I really liked that, and I worked there for 11 years. And then they made me redundant, not just me, lots of people. And that was when I was about 58. And I haven't worked since then. The current husband said to me, well, if you look for a job if you like, but it doesn't matter if you don't want to get a job, that's fine. And I did look, and I did try, but then the attitude of employing a 58-year-old woman who had kind of bespoke computer skills to the company that I'd worked for, and they didn't necessarily translate very well to other jobs. I just didn't get offered anything. So that was that. Yeah, that's it. So that kind of brings you up to date. So I worked for, 35, 40 years or whatever it was, and then I was made redundant, and that was the last job I had. So sorry if that's a bit long. Now, broken but giving up, what area of England do you live in? Do you live south, north, south, central? What did you do professionally, which we've covered? How long have you been retired? Well, I'll do that bit first. I've been retired. I've been able to get my pension since 2018 because I was born in 1953 and sort of in the autumn of 1953. So I got my pension when I was 64 years and whatever it was, 4 months or something. But I've not been working since 2011. Sound a bit of a princess, really, don't I? What did I do professionally? How long have you been retired? Will current husband be retiring soon? Not really, because he's a bit younger than me, and men retire later anyway. So if we're talking about retiring as state pension age, or just, giving up working, He won't be eligible for his pension for probably till I'm not far off 80. So there you are. She also asked me where I lived in the country. So I live in West Herts, Hertfordshire. The nearest town most people have heard of is Watford, because obviously we've got a football team, and Elton John comes from around here, and George Michael, and a few celebs. So that's the area I live. And she also asked me if I'm a monarchist, and I don't really know, other than to say we all loved the Queen, didn't we? We all, I mean, imagine taking on a job at 25 and doing it for whatever it was, 70 years, never moaning, never putting a foot wrong, putting up with all the stuff that everyone, you know, family stuff, you know, amazing. And I admire Charles doing it. So I think there's a place for it in this country. I think it does us more good than, from my view, it does us, having a royal family, it does us more good than harm, because, you know, they make money for the country, and, you know, bring tourists in and whatnot. And I have to say, I know not that Queen Camilla hasn't been everybody's cup of tea for quite a long time because of all the hoo-ha, but going back to Diana and everything. And I don't want to be controversial here, but I'm just throwing it in there. The last few months when he's been unwell, if you can't even imagine that the woman that everyone reviled a few years ago was basically carrying on the duties of the king. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? The rest of them, you know, some of the others we can do without. No names, no pat drills. But I think the king and the immediate working royals, I think he's got the right idea there, having just a few doing good for, I think it does good for our nation. So that's that one. So Laura Martini, I love that name, don't know if she's a film star. She said, when wearing dresses or a skirt, do you wear a slip or petticoat? The younger generation have no ideas to how to dress properly. Well, I suppose really fashion comes around anyway, doesn't it? I mean, somebody wrote in the comments the other day, it did make me laugh. It's a bit like walking through the 1980s, you know, shops at the moment, because the stuff that's in. So I think we're kind of just on a repeat cycle, aren't we? But I did used to wear slips, and they were great. I don't know why slips just went out of fashion. I wonder if it was because perhaps when we used to wear them, the fabrics weren't quite as friendly to your body. I know that I tried that skirt on, the leopard print skirt the other week, and that clung to me, and someone said, get a slip, and I thought, do I love that skirt enough to go and buy a slip? Probably not. But they added another layer of warmth. They probably protected you from maybe rough fabric. I don't know, but we don't really. You used to get a full slip, didn't you? And then they invented bra slips. Oh God, it's all coming back to me. And then there was the waist slip. So yeah, I've heard a few people talk about slips lately, and maybe it might be worth investing in one. But yeah, I did used to wear them. Dusty says, have you always lived in the area or county that you do now, and what did you do before retiring? So I think I've told you about the retiring thing, what I did before. I haven't always lived here. I was actually born in Australia, in Brisbane, because my parents had emigrated there with my sister. We came back to London when I was about 3, so don't remember any of Australia, although it's on my passport, and people saying, oh, where did you live? And I don't know anything about it, although I do have some cousins that live there now. Then we lived in central London, central London, I say that, Camberwell and Paddington for a while, and then we moved out to the home counties, so we were in Hertfordshire then. So I've lived in Hertfordshire or Middlesex, one of those two sort of boroughs so for years. So I would say mostly within probably a 10-mile radius of where I'm sitting now. So yes, I haven't travelled too far since the trip back from Oz. Poppy Daisy, what are 3 things that make you really happy? I like this question, but it's a bit daunting, isn't it? Because you sort of think, oh, well, you know, my children and my grandchildren and blah, 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 blah. And of course they do make me happy, but I think I'd like to sort of spin that a bit and say, I think being lucky has made me happy, because I don't, you know, I'm no different to anyone else in nearly every way. I don't live in a, you know, an amazing gated estate or anything. You know, I've got a fairly ordinary life, but I don't, this part might sound a bit sloppy, and if any of my kids watch this, they'll probably go, but I think being loved by nice people, which I am, having my family and my extended family, I mean, we all get, you know, people that drive us nuts and whatever. I mean, as far as I know, I'm in decent health. I could wake up tomorrow and that could all change, or I could not wake up tomorrow. You don't know, do you? But so I feel that I'm lucky. I'm particularly lucky with the friends I've got, the friends I've made in my life, and I might not see them anymore. Some of the jobs I've had, I think I just, and of course my great children and my lovely grandchildren, my former husband, my previous husband, my current husband, you know, obviously I feel differently about the two men, but I still have great affection for my first husband. He's always been a friend, so that's great. So I just feel really lucky about that, and that makes me happy. I think I do feel really lucky about that. And the other things that make me kind of happy on a sort of, oh, you know, that sort of happy basis, on a less serious level probably, I like, my dogs make me happy, and the fact that I have to take them out every day, that gives me a calmness and a happiness. And when you just drive everywhere, before I had these dogs, I just drove everywhere like most people do probably, but when you walk around and you walk, you know, even just through local streets and roads and parks and whatever, I'm not talking about, you know, hiking up Hadrian's Wall or anything with them, but you look at this, you can see the seasons. I love the seasons, the change of the seasons. Even when it's pouring with rain and you think, oh well, that's going to kind of make all the plants grow. I know it sounds a bit sad, but I really think like that. And being in my garden, if that can be a third one, you know, I know, don't mention the garden because I keep on about that, but we're still working on it. It's almost finished, so I'm going to try and put this flipping video up, hopefully the next one I do. And I've got some plants to put in, and I've got some painting to do on the fence, and I'm quite looking forward to that because I find it quite calming. It's just nice being outside. So like my family, having my dogs and walking and watching the seasons, that sort of stuff. I'm sorry if that sounds a bit pathetic, but that's how I think. So they're kind of 3 things. I probably could go on and think of something else, but they're the main things that sprung to mind when I was having a little think about that. So it's a good question. Leslie asks me, what made you start a YouTube channel? And I think I'm probably going to say the same as everyone else says that does Q&As, and everyone's asked this. Nearly everyone anyway, but you know, thank you for asking me. I didn't used to do anything with YouTube for most of my life really. It's a very recent thing for me. And when I had, you know, before this is probably before lockdown, when I was visiting my daughter who wasn't working at the time. She was home with her child, and she used to watch a lot of YouTube for cleaning videos, you know, to give her the inspiration to clean. and all sorts of things, you know. And she used to say, "Oh, do you ever watch this?" And I say, "No, no, no." And then she'd put something on, and then anyway, because of that, I kind of got into watching it myself. And when we had lockdown, again, I think like a lot of people, I started to, when I always watch it on my TV. Well, nearly always watch it on my TV rather than my phone. I watch videos on the screen, and I found a few people I quite like watching, and you just kind of get involved, don't you? And if you're watching me now and you're a regular, even if you don't normally watch me, if you regularly, and you're still watching, you haven't fallen asleep, if you, you know, the people that you generally watch, you do get quite involved in them and invested in them, don't you? And it's a bit like, it's not like having, it's like having a little community, isn't it? And you feel like the person is talking to you, and it's that. So anyway, I was thinking about this, and I've watched lots of people, and I've thought, I wonder if I could do that. And the weird thing about me, well, as I always say, there's lots of weird things about me, but I'm very shy and I'm very self-conscious. I don't really like being the centre of attention. But then I thought, well, what about doing a YouTube channel? Because I'm here, I'm not sort of, excuse me, I've got itchy nose. I'm not sitting in a hall with people in front of me, you know, looking at me. It's a sort of an informal way. And I thought, well, yeah, I could give that a go. And then I did my first video, and I found it was quite easy to talk to the camera. And you know, you get some people that start messaging you eventually. It took a while, and I thought, oh my God, no one's watching me. But then gradually people do find you, and I just find it really nice. And you know, I could wax lyrical about it for ages on the people that talk to me all the time. It's nice. So that's really why I started. My daughter got me into watching YouTube, and I just started watching it, and I thought, oh, perhaps I could do that. So I did. So the next one, oh, somebody else asking me, have you always lived in the area that I do now? That was Elaine, and I think I've answered that. I'm so sorry, I've got an itchy nose. Patricia, how many kids and grandchildren have you got? What are the dogs' ages and names? Well, the dogs are schnauzers. One's a black one. She's 12, and her name is Bo. And the other schnauzer is a pepper and salt. She's 10. I say these ages, they're almost these ages, within a few weeks of their birthdays. And she's 10, and she's called Tilly. And they're good little dogs. They're a bit barky when somebody knocks at the door, but if anyone's got a schnauzer out there, you'll know what I mean. They're supposed to be feisty, but they're ever so, honestly, they're ever so good. I'm so pleased we've got them. I've got 2 children that I've pushed out of my married quarters. Current husband has 3 children, and his first wife pushed them out of her married quarters. So we've got 5 children between us. My children are older than his, but not by much. And fortunately, they all get on with each other really well. And we have 9 grandchildren, and they range in age from 14. The eldest grandson's just had his 14th birthday, and the youngest grandson's just had his, and he is 3. So yeah, quite a good little range of ages. Yeah, sort of when you marry someone with children, it's funny because I never ever saw myself marrying somebody and being a stepmother. Never thought about it. Couldn't really. Well, I suppose you don't think about it, do you? And taking on, and I did sort of take them on really because for various reasons. 2 of them lived here anyway. I moved in here with the 3 of them. And then over the years, we had my children, we basically had them all living here at some point with us. And when the last one finally moved out, which was about 7 years ago, because we've been married 19 years now, I said to him, we've never lived on our own. I wonder if we'll like it. But we were fine. And now we've got my son, who's part living here part time as well, but hopefully for not for too much longer. That's all going to be sorted out. So yes, 5 children between us, 2 of them mine, 3 of them his, 9 grandchildren, and the dogs Tilly and Bo. Sue said, do you spend more or less on clothes now than you did before you started YouTube? It's interesting that, Sue, because I've been thinking about that. Of course I have to spend money if I want to do a haul for you. No one has ever asked me if I, sent me anything. So I have to go and buy everything. So that's why I don't do hauls every single week. I mean, if I go to the shops naturally and pick up a few things, I will show you. I normally do that. I suppose I probably do. When I worked, I bought clothes quite frequently because I like to look good for work. And then in the interim sort of few years that I've been at home, not so much, but I still was interested in clothes. So if I needed something or just fancied buying myself something, no one's ever said, current husband doesn't say, well, I don't think you should be buying this. I've got my own money and I buy my own stuff, or sometimes he buys me things. So I probably, if I added it all up, I probably do, because I wouldn't naturally go out and buy 6 things at once. And you always hope when you do these videos, that these hauls, that you probably won't like any of them and you can send them all back, but there's always something you keep back. So I wouldn't say I've been massively extravagant, but I probably have bought more than I used to. Yeah. Carol says, what kind of things do you like to do outside YouTube? I do colouring in. I want to be an old lady and start to do puzzles, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't know what it is, but I like colouring. I do every now and again, I'll get a little bit of a fit of doing some sewing, because I quite like sewing, but that is very few and far between. I mean, I really got, when we started having grandchildren, I started getting a fit of sewing, and I was making sort of bags and things for the new babies coming along. I don't knit or anything like that. That's kind of passed me by. But yeah, sewing. So sewing, colouring. I find colouring so relaxing. I like gardening. I don't grow anything from seed because I'm quite impatient. But I do like my garden. I like to plant things. I like tending the plants, that sort of thing. Nothing very exciting. I'm not a massively exciting person. I don't read because I can read, but I don't read a lot of books. The only times I can read a book is if I go away on holiday and take one with me, because the rest of the time my mind's always jumping around. Just on a lot of it's rubbish, but I just can't concentrate. I'm easily distracted. So yeah, so that's that. There's just a couple more questions, perhaps 3. So if you're still with me, hopefully you are. Laura asked me, what is your favourite lingerie brand? Well, these made me chuckle a bit, really, because I wish I could say some exotic brand like Fig Leaves, or I don't know. I basically go to Marks and Spencer's and probably buy the wrong size bras, and I buy big knickers because that's what I do. Bras are a bit of a bone of contention, aren't they? They say that there's 80% of us that aren't wearing the wrong that are wearing the wrong size, and I suspect I am. I had myself measured years ago, and I bought all these fancy bras on the strength of that, and then I realised they weren't the right size after I'd worn them for a while, and I'd bought another bra from somewhere, and I looked at the size, and that was really comfy, and I looked at the size of that, and that was a different size to the one that she'd measured me for, so I don't know what had happened there. But somebody also said in one of the comments about I think it was the dresses I was showing you that I wasn't sure whether to keep or not. And I said about my bulgy bits here. And she said, oh, maybe you need to get your bra fitted again, or have a bra fitting. I just wanted to point out to her that it's not because of my bra, it's just the way I'm kind of put together. I've got blobby bits under my armpits, so that it's not the bra making them stick out. In fact, the bra kind of hides them a bit. So, but I probably should go and get measured, because I don't know if I've got a really comfy Marks and Spencer's bra on today, but it's just a plain thing. So we don't want to encourage any. We don't want to sort of make current husband feel like he's in with a chance or anything, do we? So we just stick to the boring stuff, the big knickers. Helen says, oh, she thinks current husband is amusing when I say current husband. She said, is it cheeky to ask if you've been married before and how many times and how many grandchildren? So I've sort of covered it. Yes, I've been married before. I was married for about 20. I was with him for 5 years before we got married, and we were married 20 odd years, and neither of us can really remember when we split up. So probably with first husband or previous husband, he should be, shouldn't he, for about 25 years, but he's still a friend, so do keep in touch and talk with him. And current husband, I've been married to, as I say, for 19 years. So only 2 husbands. Yeah, and the grandchildren, as I say, between us, we've got nine grandchildren. And to be honest, current husband, he doesn't mind being called that. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it sort of started as a thing and it stuck. And he refers to himself sometimes as current husband, so he doesn't mind. Yeah. Oh, it's just one more question. Whose YouTube channels do you follow? That's from Linda. I chop and change a bit. I think I follow a lot that a lot of you follow. So off the top of my head, Tina's Talk Time, the ones that do the transatlantic housewives. So Karen, Marie, and Tina. I like Caroline, Mrs. M. She's a little bit posh, isn't she? But she's not sort of posh in a way. You know, I quite like her. And yeah, I find her watchable. I suppose I should have written down, shouldn't I, who else I watch. If you've got any recommendations, by the way, do let me know, because I stick with the same people, because I try and find more people that are like me, but then I can't really find a lot that are like me. I wanted to find sort of older people. The question about why I started a YouTube channel as well was when I was watching it all the time, you know, a lot of the time, I'm not really getting this out properly, am I? I couldn't find anybody that was more like me. I don't really know what I'm like, to be honest, but I wanted to find someone that was a bit older. So when you Googled older numbers like 70 or 75 or 65 or something, you tended to get a lot of the ladies weren't British, a lot of them were American. And although I do watch some American people, you kind of relate more to, I suppose, somebody who's a bit more like you. And I wasn't really finding anyone that I thought was kind of like me. So I thought, well, why don't I start a channel for someone who's 70, because I was going to be 70, and who don't feel like they're 70, basically. So that's why that is another reason I started it. But yeah, a lot of the girls that I watch, they're sort of, and Tina's over 70, isn't she? And there's another one that I sometimes watch who's over 70, so that we are out there and we're not all sort of hobbling around on walking sticks and things. So that we're sort of young at heart, I suppose people say. So yeah, I watch Wraparound Plus. I don't know how old she is, but that's a plus size channel. I suppose I kind of gravitate towards plus size people, really. But I shall have to have a think about that, a bit more of a think about that, and maybe do a recommendations channel sometime. And the other thing I like to watch, don't just watch people, I quite like watching graveyard videos. So there's Hollywood Graveyards, is it called? That's that guy who's got a really nice voice. He goes and visits a lot of graveyards in the US, which have got lots of celebrities and interesting facts. There's Lamont at Large. I quite like him. I know it makes it sound really miserable, doesn't it, or really morbid, but I don't think I am. Faces of the Forgotten. I like that sort of thing as well. And there's what's it called? Legacy. Is it legacy.com? Legacy. Something like that, and that's all the people that have died, famous people that have died in the in the month. And it's a bit of a morbid curiosity, isn't it? I don't know, but I do quite like those sorts of videos as well. Anyway, I don't know how long this video's been going on, probably about 2 hours or something, but I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for all your questions. I'm going to try and get this up so I can try and get something else in this week. But we're bank holiday. We've just had our May Day bank holiday, so it's Tuesday the 7th today of May. So I will try and do a second one, because I did say I was going to try and do 2 videos a week. So I'll try and do something else before the end of the week. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this hasn't been too boring. I will see you again very soon, and yeah, please take care of yourselves, and love you lots. Bye bye for now.